Hi everyone, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody has had a fantastic week, and I hope you're all looking forward to a great weekend. Welcome Bakrat, hi Kyber. Welcome members, this is a members chat class. Everybody's welcome to watch. Hi Aman, welcome Carolina, our moderator. Right now, we are going to be looking at IELTS Task 2 writing. And in fact, we are looking at finishing with a Band 9. So we started with a Band 9 essay yesterday on the 28th. And right now, we're going to be finishing that Band 9 essay. So yesterday, we planned the essay. We wrote the introduction, and now we're ready to write the body paragraphs and the conclusion. This lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Check us out there. For the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we have lots of help for your Task 2 writing, as well as for other sections of the IELTS exam. Hi, Fargus. Hi, Irfan. Welcome, Jai Neil. Good to see more members joining in. This is our academic IELTS web portal here. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. It's well worth it. I think maybe all of our clients are super satisfied after they join. We are a British Council IELTS Test Registration Center and certified agents, so you're in great hands with us. General IELTS looks very similar, but with a different color motif. It's a green background. You click that big red button to join us there. Welcome, Harwinder. Hi, Shahid and Omar. All right, everyone. So we've got apps, of course. You can download Academic IELTS Help app from your app store, General IELTS Help from your Apple stores. You can link those apps to your web accounts to study from one account. So that's super, super useful. If you have questions, you can send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. That's me. Hi, Sana. All right. So we've got lots more classes coming up. We've got Task 1 Academic a little bit later this morning. Well, this morning for me anyway. After this class, that will be a line graph. And then tomorrow, we'll have speaking part 2 and speaking part 3 for everyone. So more classes tomorrow. Again, remember to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification button. That will definitely help you to keep up with the live schedules as well. Okay. All right. So this was the writing question that we looked at yesterday. All right. Let's take a look at this. Let's just review the introduction. Members, if you wrote your introduction at home over the course of the last 24 hours, that's fantastic. You can share it in the chat now, and I will take a look at the different parts. So here was the question. IELTS Task 2 writing. You should take about 40 minutes on this task. Many companies are strongly against having personal relationships in the workplace and impose strict policies. Let me get this a little bit more on screen. Asif, welcome. Yeah, I can see that's a little bit off screen. So just give me a sec. There we go. Okay, now you can see it a little bit better. Let's do that again. Many companies are strongly against having personal relationships in the workplace and impose strict policies against it. Do you agree or disagree with this practice? Okay. And then we paraphrased it. And we said that, hey, you really just want to choose one side here, not agree or disagree, because a company can't condone and disagree with this. It's only one or the other. Okay. So it's definitely better to approach this essay with just one side. You either agree or disagree, but not both. That would be really weird. Like companies should and shouldn't. Okay, well, so what does a person do? Get into a relationship with their colleague or not, right? You can't have both. Remember the idiom. You can't have your cake and eat it too. That's probably one of the most useful idioms, by the way, that you can often apply to situations in life because, as many of us know, the world is full of irony, and very often we have this situation in the human experience where you can't have your cake and eat it too. All right, so remember that. Okay, and keep this in mind too. The question said include any relevant explanations and examples from your own experience. Of course, you have to write at least 250 words. Lark, welcome from Saudi Arabia, Damam. All right. So we did a good job of identifying the topic, controlling ideas. We really went deep into the critical thinking of what, why, how for each. And then finally, we came up with an effective Band 9 introductory paragraph that reads like this. Hook, it is common for colleagues to develop personal relationships through their employment because of their frequent time spent together. Nevertheless, companies are often in strong opposition to emotionally charged bonds at the workplace and discourage such activity with threats of terminating employment. I agree that for the interest of business, personal connections should be regulated by policy as companies must maintain efficiency and reputation. Okay, good. So we have our introductory paragraph there. We have the hook. We have the background. We have the thesis. We're good to go. Okay. Bakrat, I see that you're being very studious, and that's fantastic. So Bakrat writes, introduction. Nowadays, personal relationships become natural at the workplace. Several organizations are opposed to having personal bonds during work and manipulate solid policies against it. Bakrat, I wouldn't write and manipulate solid. That's a little bit awkward. Most of it is good. I would change manipulate solid policies to impose solid policies against it. I agree with the above statement that personal bonding distracts other office employees, which affects the growth and reputation of companies. But allowing restriction leads to productivity. By imposing restriction leads to productivity and increased cooperation between coworkers. Okay, Bakrat, I see where you're going with that. So you're going to explain the negative impact of having relationships and the positive impact of having these policies. And that's good. Okay, you've got a little bit of awkward word choice, but overall, it's a fairly solid, I would say like a band 6.5, maybe even 7 introduction. Okay, so not bad at all. All right, Bakrat, good job. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay, Farduus writes, nowadays personal relationships have increased dramatically in the workplace, which result in less productivity. Okay, Farduus, not bad. You're starting really complex and there are a few mistakes in there, so make sure you don't do that. Bakrat, by the way, just one other tip for IELTS Task 2 is don't refer to location of information in the text in a short essay. Okay, so do not refer to the location of information in the text of a short essay. It's awkward. So don't write something like, I agree with the above statement. Okay? Or don't write something like, this essay will discuss below. Okay, it's kind of like I'm looking at one page, right? Just think about that, right? Like you're the reader and you're like, I'm looking at one page. Like I'm not stupid. I know what I just read 2 sentences prior, or yeah, I can see what you're writing 2 sentences later. So it's just awkward. It's awkward for a short essay to refer to locations of information in just a few paragraphs. Okay, so don't do that. It's just weird. It's not considered good writing. Okay. There are essays where we refer to the location of information, but those are usually much longer, at least 4 or 5 pages. Okay, so longer research papers for university or longer essays will refer to in paragraphs previously mentioned, okay, or something like that, but not in short essays. All right. Okay, so we have clarity and we have direction thanks to our thesis statement, okay? So we have the position of the author. So we're agreeing with the regulations that personal connections should be controlled by companies. And we provide the reason. So for efficiency, okay, and reputation. So those are the two clear points here, all right? And remember those really good examples that we came up with yesterday of the relationship at the law firm or the relationship at the hospital, okay? All right. So now we get into body one. Body one will talk about maintaining efficiency. Okay. And body one, of course, has to have the topic, sentence, the explanation, and the example, and a connecting sentence. And basically in the IELTS, it's okay to have like one sentence for each. Okay. So let's get into this a little bit, students. Okay. So everybody who's watching, give me a topic sentence. So in one sentence, give me a deeper definition of what it means to maintain efficiency through having a policy of no personal relationships. Okay. So give me a nice, clear, deeper definition so that me, as the reader, can better understand by what you mean that these kinds of policies help to upkeep the efficiency or the workflow of companies. Okay, let me know what that is. Okay. All right, while you do that, I'll read a little bit more here. So Kyber writes, maintaining personal relationships in a workplace is common nowadays. Colleagues in most organizations find interest in having a close connection with each other as a consequence of spending a lot of time together. Therefore, it is important to discuss whether maintaining these connections is healthy or unhealthy. For who, Kyber? For the business? For the individuals? Kyber, I like the hook and the background of your introduction, but your thesis is very ambiguous. Even if on the IELTS you would score like a band 7, let's say, in a university class, the professor would reject that kind of a thesis because they would say that it's an extremely ambiguous thesis, especially for such a short essay. So you want to have it more direct, unless your thesis is later, which I don't see. Okay? So I'm assuming that last sentence, Kyber, that therefore it is important to discuss. Yeah, that seems like it's still a part of the background rather than the thesis. Okay? It doesn't give clarity for your essay, so maybe it's still a part of your background. I'm not sure. Okay? You need clarity in your thesis. All right? Okay, Paulo says, it is not a secret that a lot of people develop personal bonds with colleagues at the workplace. Aware of that, companies end up putting in place regulations in order to discourage employees to build these types of connections. Most of the time, neglecting these regulations can lead to the employee's resignation. I believe that corporations need to define rules around this subject, given that it is important to have a work environment that is efficient and focused in results. Okay, Paulo, just a little correction in the parallel phrasing of your thesis. It is important to have a work environment that is focused in efficiency and results. Then you'll have parallel grammar that is focused on efficiency and results. Okay? Then it's much, much more paralleled. All right. Okay, Kyber, so I see that you haven't provided the thesis statement. Make sure to always include that, Kyber, so it's clear for me, okay? Janil says, these days, many corporations are against forming connections at the workplace and setting some contracts because their employees would be made more productive. Yeah. Okay, Janil, it's good. I think it's a little bit wordy, okay, for a topic sentence. So Janil is writing the topic sentence here, just to be clear, all right? One more time, Janil writes, these days many corporations are against forming personal connections at the workplace and setting some contracts because their employees would be made more productive. Okay, so Janil, I think it's a bit wordy. I think you can be more concise, and I think you can replace some of those words in your topic sentence to give more information to your reader. Okay, let's get into this. So I want to, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on forming these parts of the body paragraphs, and then we'll speed up for the remainder of the essay. Okay, so the topic sentence, yes, one idea that should come to mind for you here is increase productivity and revenue, and therefore revenue in the company. Okay, so this is just an idea. This isn't my full sentence yet. This should come to mind. Okay. Now, here, when I'm thinking of the topic sentence, right, then throughout my essay, so as I'm writing this essay, I should always be thinking critically, right? So I should always be thinking what, why, how, what, why, how. And the magical question that you should always be asking is why, right? So think about this one, right? So you're increasing productivity with these policies and therefore the revenue of the company. Why? Why are you increasing productivity in the company when you discourage these personal relationships? Okay. Harwinder writes, policies to set thresholds for intimate bonds lead to less liability issues for the company and also increase productivity, as sometimes working with colleagues without being biased. Okay, Harwinder, careful. You're mixing a lot of ideas. So Harwinder, remember that the second point of the essay is reputation, and we don't want to mix reputation with efficiency. Okay, we want to keep those two ideas separate for now. Your body paragraphs should not overlap in their content, because then they're not two paragraphs, then they would be one paragraph, right? So you want to keep these ideas separate. Okay. So June writes, topic sentence, forbidding personal relationships in the office through corporate policy ensures employees to focus on their job and steer clear of distractions from workmate affections. I would write affections instead of affinities, June, affections, okay? And June, you're on the right track, absolutely. So why? Because it's distracting. Yeah, definitely. So that's the reason. Okay. So we're increasing productivity and therefore revenue. And the reason that's happening is because there's less distraction with non-work related communication or non-work related interactions, right? So now I have all the information. So first always think and then write, okay? It's very true what they say. You have to think before you speak, but it's even more true that you have to think before you write, okay? Because when you speak, it's often real time, so at least you have a chance to correct your mistakes. But in writing, it's a one shot, bang, right? So you write what you think, and usually that's it. The reader, often does not have a chance to find out more information or to get corrections. So you have to be extra careful, okay? So, dissuading personal interactions in a work establishment leads to less distractions, more focus on work, and therefore greater productivity of goods and services, which ultimately leads to revenue and growth. Okay, so that would be your ideal topic sentence. So dissuading personal interactions in a work establishment leads to less distractions, more focus on work, and therefore greater productivity of goods and services, which ultimately leads to revenue and growth. Okay, this is efficiency explained. All right, hopefully everybody sees that. So how do I come up with all those ideas? Well, I keep thinking why and how, and I keep visualizing the context. Okay, all right, let's explain this. Okay, so when you're thinking about the explanation, so now you're like, okay, well, how can I explain this clearly to my reader? What kind of information should I be including in this explanation? What comes to mind? So what should this type of explanation contain? Okay, think about that. While you think about it, I'll read a couple more of what some students wrote. Hi, Rumi. Alexandra, Rumi, Sana, try to come up with some sentences here as well. Fardius writes, to increase profits and focus more on work leads to more concentration without being distracted by interpersonal communication, emotional communication. Fardius, you need more clarity there. It seems a little bit repetitive and a little bit unclear. You need to finish your idea. Okay. Buckrat writes, increasing productivity to focus on work will raise the value of the companies. Yeah. Janelle, very good. So Janelle says, in the explanation, we should focus on quantitative language and on visual language. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So when you're thinking about these ideas, then you need to think about how can you explain this with some numbers, okay? And how can you start to create kind of an image for the reader? Now, it's sometimes quite tricky to separate the explanation from the example. And you don't always have to, especially in the IELTS, it's 250 words. So sometimes your explanation and your example can be kind of almost squished together. When you're practicing at home, you should try to separate them, but if you end up kind of squishing them together, that's okay as well, all right? Okay, so just quickly kind of typing it up here, okay? And quantifying it and visualizing it, right? So all you really have to do is you just have to picture yourself or a colleague or someone at work throughout the day, you know, chit-chatting to a person that they're interested in. That's their friend or that's their boyfriend, girlfriend. And then, of course, using a good portion of their time for non-work related issues. So here's my explanation. So when an employee thinks twice about spending 2 hours of an 8-hour workday chit-chatting about emotions to their partner, they are able to either manufacture 25% more goods in that time or serve a quarter more clients. Okay. So here, notice that I just really quantified it. So I pictured an employee who's spending a lot of time just blah, 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 to another employee that's not work related, right? And 2 hours of an 8-hour workday, of course, the reader will very quickly figure out that's a quarter of the time or 25%. If they're making something for the company, right? So if they're putting together chipboards or some other type of product that they're working on, obviously they will be able to produce 25% more goods, roughly, let's say, in that time on average, or they'll be able to help a quarter more clients in that time, okay? Does everybody kind of see that explanation there now for this topic sentence? Okay. And then I could even continue on and say overall, this will lead to an increase of 25% profits for the company in the long term, which we kind of get, but you could, if it's a longer essay, you could put that there as well. Okay. Everybody clear on how I came up with that explanation? By the way, I strongly encourage you to come up with your own. There are lots of different ways to do this, and there are lots of different explanations that you could give for this topic sentence. Okay? All right. So, now we want the example. All right? And examples should be real world. They should be empathetic. And they should be impactful. Okay, so ideally, your examples are something that a person can truly see. It's something that a person can, or the reader can think, oh yeah, I could really get that, and I've actually seen that, or I've experienced that. And it should be impactful because this is a persuasive essay. Don't forget that the goal of this essay really is to convince your reader of your idea. So if you have a reader that's thinking, oh, it's okay to have personal relationships at work, your goal right now is to convince them that, hey, maybe it's not. Maybe you should see it from the perspective of the company, from the perspective of society, from the perspective of the client. So maybe it's not, even from your own interest. So maybe it's not. Okay. Rajveer is asking, isn't it better to write goods and services? You could write goods and services to be more concise, Rajveer, but goods in that time or serve a quarter more clients. Serving a quarter more clients is services. So this is goods. This is services, Rajveer. This is just a little bit more definition. So it's a bit more visual, like serving the client. Here you go. And you're going to see, Rajveer, why this works quite well here. So serve a quarter more clients. Okay. You're going to see that when I present you with the example here as well. Okay. Paulo writes, personal relationships can make people really distracted at the workplace. When they have a relationship with someone that surpasses the professional level, people are likely to interact all the time to find ways to be in touch with each other instead of fully being focused on their work. Imposing rules that prevent this from happening can benefit businesses because that keeps employees doing what they are supposed to do. In an environment where everyone is close friends, productivity can decrease to less than 30%, given that a lot of conversations around many random topics can take away from work time. In a bakery near my house, the ladies that work behind the counter spend too much time talking and take so long to help customers that sometimes I give up on buying pastry and just walk away. Paulo, don't use you, don't use something, otherwise it's a fantastic paragraph. I really like it. Okay, I especially like your example of the ladies working at the pastry not doing their job. I've experienced similar situations, so I'm empathetic and it's impactful. I've literally have had that experience where I'm in a store and employees are chit-chatting to the point where they're not helping customers, and I've literally been like, I don't have time for this, and away I go. So yeah, very impactful. It's a very, very good example. Don't write something, okay? Something, Paulo, has no value for your reader. I give up on buying pastry and just walk away angry. Okay, and that's kind of good, the finishing with the walk away angry, because that will be a nice connection, Paulo, at the end of your example to the next paragraph, which will be about reputation loss, right? And there you can tell in your example to your reader that you've told many of your friends and neighbors about the terrible service at this pastry store, at this bakery, okay? All right, so careful with those words. Okay, so real world, empathetic, impactful. All right. Okay, so kind of similar to Paulo's example, but just from a different direction. So I recently changed my family doctor because the nurse and the doctor at my old clinic are constantly discussing personal issues rather than helping patients. And because of this, my wait times for seeing the doctor was over an hour. Okay. Couple of corrections, one with tense here. Rather than repeating the word doctor and then doctor here again, I can write physician. Okay. Now, it's not true. My actual doctor physician is an excellent doctor and very focused on their work. But, you're just coming up with examples here. And this is something that some people have experienced at the dental office or at the clinic. So I recently changed my family doctor because the nurse and physician at my old clinic were constantly discussing personal issues rather than helping patients. And because of this, my wait times. Now I have because, and I'm constantly reviewing and changing redundancy. So instead of because of this, as a result of this, my wait times for seeing the doctor was over an hour. And then let's change my singular plural mismatch here. We're over an hour. Okay. All right, so that's my example, all right? And now, Paulo says, good, just in case my family doctor is watching this class. Highly unlikely, Paulo, but it's more because I respect my family doctor that I wanted to clear that up, that it's not true. So it's out of respect rather than out of fear that my doctor is watching this class. That would be very surprising. Okay, and here I can use an exclamation mark. Don't overuse exclamation marks. In fact, I would say rarely use exclamation marks. You don't really want to shout in essays, especially in persuasive essays. But in this case, it makes sense. Like you're like, I'm waiting more than an hour, right? People get upset. Okay. All right. So now a connecting sentence. In the IELTS, keep it simple. This is one of two reasons that I support such company policies. Okay? Or company policies that forbid personal relationships in the office. Okay? So there's my connecting concluding sentence. Really, really simple. So connecting concluding sentence, here I'm just referring to the original topic controlling idea, okay? It's simple and it reflects the original question. All right, and everybody can see that, I'm sure. Okay, I'm glad you guys found that a bit entertaining. Okay, and then review your paragraph once you're done writing it, okay? So here we go. Dissuading personal interactions in a work establishment leads to less distractions, more focus on work, and therefore greater productivity of goods and services, which ultimately leads to revenue and growth. When an employee thinks twice about spending 2 hours of an 8-hour workday chit-chatting about emotions to their partner, they're able to either manufacture 25% more goods in that time or serve a quarter more clients. I recently changed my family doctor because the nurse and physician at my old clinic were constantly discussing personal issues rather than helping patients, and as a result of this, my wait times for seeing the doctor were over an hour. This is one of two reasons that I support company policies that forbid personal relationships in the office. All right, fantastic. So I have my paragraph there. I'm pretty happy with it. It's got a bit of a negative tone and angle. I have to realize that, right? But it's good. Positive tones are usually better. Like they could be helping a dozen more clients each day. But this is good. This works for this essay. Okay, so, all right. Janelle writes, so I'm going to read a couple more. I'm going to read a couple more examples from our members. While I do that, start on body paragraph 2. Okay, so body 2 will be about reputation of the company. All right. So start on that. It's the same idea, right? So you need a topic, you need an explanation, topic sentence, explanation, and an example, right? You need all of those for a good body paragraph. All right, while you start thinking about that, I'm going to read a little bit more of what has been written by our members. So, June, if office workers spend 20% of their shift hours chit-chatting with workmates instead of concentrating on their assigned work, it is likely that they're not able to complete their work tasks with enough dedication. Therefore, restricting personal relationships means more guarantees for accomplishment and quality in any jobs. More guarantees for accomplishment, period. And then, where's the example? Oh, no example. Okay. All right. Janelle says, for instance, I'm working as a design engineer at Expert Global, where one of my peers, Janelle, it's always one of many. One of my peers, Rahul, wastes at least 2 hours on unnecessary talks with his colleague, Sheena. As a result, he has not competed with me on the same project last month. Janelle, it sounds like you're writing something true. I hope that Rahul and Sheena are not watching this right now. No, I'm kidding, Janelle. The example's good, Janelle. I'm not sure what you mean by competed with me on the same project last month. You might want to clarify that. Okay. Excuse me. Bharat writes, few days ago, I went to a medical club company for purchasing tablets for my mom, who is suffering from pain. I was standing nearly 2 to 3 hours in a line. No employees were there because they were spending their time having a friendly lunch. Bakrat, I would put friendly lunch in there. Witty lad, I'm not 100% sure what you mean by neutral or literal vocabulary, but there are no restrictions on the vocabulary that you can use in task 2, as long as you're using it accurately in context. Okay? All right. So there's some good writing there. I'm going to get going on body paragraph 2 here. This is where we're going to practice some writing fluency. So I'm going to write, you're going to write. We're going to hammer out the second body paragraph and the conclusion. I encourage you to keep writing. I'm going to take a look at the chat to see what you're coming up with, and I'll kind of pick different people at different times while I'm also typing away. Okay, so okay. So here we go. Topic sentence for me. Furthermore, companies can suffer from the loss of their image and integrity when their employees are focused on emotional bonds among each other rather than presenting a professional attitude towards clients and the industry. Okay, now comes the explanation. All right. So I'm just kind of moving along here. So continually visualizing the situation. So in situations where clients feel underserved or even ignored, a company can get bad reviews and even become vulnerable to legal disputes if the actions of distracted employees leads to harm of society and customers. And then my example. All right, it's impactful, right? And making that connection with my previous body paragraph by referring to the same example. So I recently heard that my old clinic is being sued for malpractice because the doctor and the nurse were so distracted by their intimacy that the nurse gave too much medication to a patient, which led to a near-death experience. It's like, okay, hopefully nobody ever experiences that, all right? Witty lad, absolutely. You can use that kind of neutral vocabulary like gives, show, get, and adjectives like wonderful, splendid, pompous. Task 2, witty lad, is persuasive writing. And in persuasive writing, we do use qualitative language like splendid or fantastic. Okay, you just have to use it correctly. So you do have to be careful on when and how you use it. You have to use it strategically, I think is the best word here. Okay, but it's okay to do that. All right. Okay, so let me get to the conclusion. All right, I'm not going to write a concluding sentence. My essay is already becoming long enough. It's easily going to be about 300 words. So I'm not going to write a connecting or concluding sentence for my second body paragraph because my conclusion does that. It seems redundant and unnecessary to do that in the paragraph that's right before your conclusion. Okay. All right, Janil says, allowing personal connections at the workplace leads to uncertainty between employees and owners, and those companies can lose their image and integrity. Instead of value, Janil, I would go with integrity. I think it's a better word in context. Okay. Miles says, I worked once in a place that was divided by workers who formed alliances and created unnecessary conflicts at the expense of work and peace of mind of those who were not interested in this toxic environment. Okay, Mal, I think your idea is good, but you want to be a little bit more concise and direct. Make sure not to get personally involved in the IELTS essay and then just write a lot of information from your heart, okay? So the IELTS essay is kind of like these rules at the workplace, okay? Keep it professional, keep it focused, don't get emotionally attached to the information of your essay, all right? Okay, so in conclusion, All right, so there is my conclusion. I just quickly hammered it out, and it really just took me like 2 minutes, right? Now, of course, I have the English, but more importantly, I have the idea that I need to go with. So here, I'm just restating my points, paraphrased, then I'm strengthening my position of my argument, and then I'm giving kind of a message to take home for the reader, okay? They like it, they might not like it. It's my message. I went with this, okay? So, in conclusion, having interpersonal connections at work leads to decreased efficiency and increased liability. Therefore, I strongly encourage companies to implement policies against such behavior for the benefit and long-term success of the business. Ultimately, employees are being paid to work and not to date and play, okay? And that kind of drives that point home. It's like, yeah, guys, okay. And, it doesn't mean that coworkers can't meet and then outside of work pursue their personal relationships, but they really should try to stay professional while at work, okay? Now, finally, what I'd want to do is read the whole essay from start to finish and make sure that it makes sense at home when I'm practicing. I want to review this, correct it, paraphrase it, find synonyms for words that are repeating, make it more concise where possible, read the question, read the essay, guarantee yourself that you're still on the right topic, that you've answered it accurately, okay? All right, so that's it for today, everyone. I liked everybody's input, and I think everybody has the right idea. It's just it's a matter of practice. So many of you now have clarity on structure. You just have to really pay attention to those, they're considered flaws in writing, like changing the voice to you or using ambiguous nouns like something, okay? So careful with those, okay? Buckrat writes, to conclude, personal bonding increased at workplace, which has resulted in severe loss of companies and therefore imposing policies to increase value and growth of industries. Buckrat, it's a little bit too dense, so you have too much going on within the one sentence. Try to separate that into 2 or 3 sentences and add a bit more clarity, okay? All right, so again, everyone, aehelp.com for academic IELTS, glshelp.com for general IELTS. Check us out there. Those websites will greatly help you to improve your writing, your speaking, listening, reading. Click that big red button to join the premium package on the websites, and you won't regret it. It doesn't cost very much, and it will definitely help you to improve for IELTS and your overall communication in English. That's it for right now. I will be back in half an hour with IELTS Task 1. We will look at a line graph. This one will be an academic. So we did general yesterday. We're doing academic today. Hopefully this way everybody is happy. So hang around, take a break, stretch your legs, grab a glass of water, and I'll see you in 30 minutes. I'm Adrian signing out from Victoria for now. Bye, everyone.